Hey, great job as usual, Pete. Very proud to be a Vertex team member with you. Thank you for that presentation. Our next presenter, I'm incredibly excited to introduce Mr. Tink Taylor. He's the co-founder and president of dotdigital. He founded dotdigital in 1999 and has over 20 years of experience in the field of digital communications and has introduced digital marketing to companies large and small. Tink has been pivotal in the development of digital marketing since its outset in both the UK and the US and in the APAC. He first launched dotdigital back at the end of 2012 and later took dotdigital to APAC in 2015. Tink constantly strives to help individual organizations and the industry as a whole to develop and progress, acting as a serial tech advisor and investor outside of dotdigital. In 2018, Tink was invited to judge the UK Tech Founder and Great British Entrepreneur Awards, along with the ANA Echo Awards in the US. He's famously rubbing shoulders with the British royal family in New York City and misses the city tremendously, probably even more than I do. Welcome, my friend, your next presenter, Mr. Tink Taylor. Tink, take it away.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. As you just said, I'm Tink. I'm the founder and president of dotdigital, and today I'm going to talk to you guys about how to become a marketing rock star using data. Now, that's right. First of all, I did say dotdigital, and many of you guys in the community over the years have got to know me as Tink Taylor of dotmailer. But we rebranded, so I'm just going to take this quick opportunity to explain what we've been doing and why. So now as a business, we call ourselves dotdigital and we refer to our platform as in the engagement cloud. There's 400 of us globally these days in 14 offices around the world. We are listed on the London Stock Exchange. We're 21 years old. But most importantly for you guys today, we are an Adobe Premier partner. And probably the really important thing for you to note is we're bundled in with the core code of Magento, meaning we were selected, we were primed, we were vetted, we were tested and tested and tested. The amount of QA is incredible. We're essentially primed, ready to go. We are a solution for all. We have 4,000 customers globally, and you can see we work in all sectors. And about 50% of our business is B2C, and the other 50% is actually B2B. And in the ever-expanding world of B2B commerce, experience of both is rare, but also vital. Now, as I mentioned, we call the platform Engagement Cloud. And why did we change the name? Well, over 20 years, we'd outgrown our name. Having the word mail simply didn't do justice to our capabilities. And importantly, we recognized that we saw our clients with conversion ratios 7 times higher when using omni-channel campaigns over purely email marketing campaigns. And now I like this slide because it actually shows some of that journey. It shows us from back in 1999 when the BBC first used our platform. I think we have 4.5 lines of code there, 4,500 lines of code. 150 odd major software upgrades later, we've got 1.5 million lines of code and counting. It's difficult for me to list and track everything we've done. We've clearly evolved where maybe some chimps haven't. And obviously we don't like to be left behind to look like some kind of dinosaur. But what does that mean? Enough of my cheesy puns. What we really want you to be able to do is to send communications that engage your customers using data, so you acquire smarter, convert faster, and deliver bigger. And you do this by giving personalized experience using data-driven insights. Now, what do we mean by personalization? Well, it's the ability to communicate with customers on a one-to-one level. And this is so important for both B2C and B2B commerce. This will make you stand out from the crowd. Using data will empower your messages, it will drive your engagement, and ultimately lift your return on investment. Now, I love this quote from Tom. It says, in short, millennials want to feel valued in all channels, and this creates loyalty. And I think we all feel like that, not just millennials. So retailers need to examine what they're doing with their customer data, ensuring they deliver that more personalized experience. Now, speaking of millennials, they're much more receptive to personalization techniques. They're less guarded about their personal data compared to prior generations. They're more in tune with the risks, but they understand the value exchange of getting a better experience for giving up some of that personal information. This is great news for us as marketers, since the data is at the backbone of any of this personalization strategy. It opens up many avenues for creating relevant and therefore highly converting experiences across all channels. As we can see, data is at the center of everything for us. We kind of refer to it as the magic layer, if you like. And these days we have so much data, we must use technologies like AI, automation, segmentation, personalization, etc., to help us to communicate. And you do this right now, not just using email. Now, we want you to connect, and this is what we say by connect. This is like putting all of your data to work so you can then focus on the bigger picture. If you do that, you can power up and you can empower your marketing campaigns with the right tools that make these tasks easy. This will enable you to communicate, creating meaningful experiences that delight your customers in all of those channels. Now let's have a look at the typical phases in the buying cycle, where we start with data. First of all, ensure that you sync all of your data sources, and when you do, ensure that your technology enables you to make that data actionable. If you do, you get insight. You can discover things like hottest prospects. You can store legal stuff like consent, and then begin with your segmentation strategy. And when you do this, you really start to engage your customers by sending smart, relevant, omni-channel communications. These will help you convert things like abandon cart and browse. And then obviously you look at retention. And again, it comes back to the data, and all of that data you store, use it to send the right message to the right person at the right time, and obviously the right channel these days. Now, we have a report called Hitting the Mark, which I encourage you to go and have a look at. And this is where we study a number of brands and how they're doing with their marketing strategy. And it's interesting that even the biggest brands with the biggest budgets, maybe the infinite marketing technology stacks out there, all the resources in the world, they're not all doing a very good job. So this is really good news for you. And by the way, you don't have to be the very best in your industry. You just have to be that little bit better than your competitors to succeed. So if you're a smaller brand, this means there's plenty of scope to complete, especially in these COVID times. But if you're one of those bigger brands, it may mean that you need to up your game and focus on your data. So how should you do this? Well, you do it by sending data-driven communications. You must listen to the data that consumers give you, and that's across all of those channels. And by the way, the choice of channels that you communicate in these days is decided by the consumer, not you. Consumers' expectations have changed. They demand something that makes their lives easier, faster, and tailored to their needs. They want something that makes them feel good about using your service or buying your product. Now, mobile itself has changed the channels we use, and therefore the data that we collect. So what does the mobile landscape look like today? Well, it's interesting that these days, making a call on your cell phone now ranks behind using it as an alarm clock. I think only 1 in 4 people actually make a phone call on their cell phone each week. And as we know, more and more people are browsing the web and opening emails and so on those cell phones. But now, messaging and social sit side by side for the top reasons why people are picking up their mobile devices. Messaging has simply made it so much easier to stay in touch, and importantly, consumers now want to message and to connect, with the brands. They're used to posting on Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, and within seconds, people responding. So if they send a Facebook message or a live chat to you as a business, they expect an immediate response. I.e., when they're researching and buying their products, the consumer expectation today is immediacy. So how has the world of messaging changed itself? We did some research, and 89% of the consumers said they could now message or use messaging to contact a business. This is a huge shift of attitude. 64% said they would prefer a live chat over voice for customer service issues. So this provides us numerous opportunities to collect even more data that we can use later. Now, providing those multiple channels for customers to contact us purely works. It increases leads from your website, and it shifts those support calls to live chat. Gone are the days when having a website of a contact form, a phone number would satisfy a customer. Maybe waiting 24 hours for a reply to an email would be considered enough, or holding on the phone to talk to someone for 20 odd minutes was deemed acceptable. So as you can see, data is at the heart of everything. It's incredibly important, and if you use it well, you will make your customers feel special, and that's what I think will make you a rock star marketer. So here's some stats about data before we dig in a little bit more. I like to ask people, how long do you think it would take to count to 1 billion? And if you actually did this and you continuously counted one number per second, it would take you 31 years, 251 days. And how many bytes of data do you think we as a human race create each day? Well, it's mind-boggling. We actually create 2.5 quintillion bytes of data a day. That's 18 zeros. That's a lot of zeros, huh? Now, 90% of that data, or 90% of the data that lives in the world today, has been created only in the last couple of years. We're generating data at an alarming rate. We're gathering shopping information, data on digital pictures and videos we're uploading, purchases, transactions, GPS signals, posts to social media, and so on and so on. The list is endless. Now, we took a look at this year's Direct Marketing Association Marketeer tracking report, and 38% of marketers actually say data is a challenge for them. 42% actually say budget and resource is their biggest challenge, and 25% say strategy and leadership is an issue as well. But surely understanding data and your strategy go hand in hand. Essentially, bad data plus bad strategy and poor tech means I end up feeling like I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm sure a lot of us feel like that. Maybe you don't have the right data, or perhaps you collected some really good data, but you don't know what to do now. Or perhaps you have both the strategy and the data, but not the right tools to process both. Easy, we can help you with that last one. But going back to the data and the strategy, we find that not everyone knows what to do. We're kind of expected to be some sort of data scientist these days. It's not so much about the data you have, but it's really about how you then use it. Having so much data these days stems from there being so many products out there. The average consumer these days has so much choice, and obviously nowadays a lot less time. Now, Michael Crabbe of Bolin Marketing recently presented the following formula I really liked. It says, in short, too many choices, too little time, plus uncertainty leads to stress and anxiety, and more importantly, paralysis, i.e. they do nothing. They need help using data to understand their choices better. So I thought I'd use a dating analogy here. Dating apps are pretty much the norm these days when looking for love, but there's an overwhelming amount of choice, and this has created a real problem. We see folks swiping away on Tinder just in case there's something better for them out there coming up next. Now, these folks could really use with some help, with some data points. A friend would know them really well, and they would say, hey, so-and-so, I know exactly what you need because I know you, I understand all the data points about you. Let me introduce you to my friend X, Y, and Z. We all want that easy route. Right? We actually all want to maximize our well-being and minimize pain. We know that our customers want a personalized and relevant experience, yet we continue to send generic bulk campaigns. We assume too much. We work on instinct instead of letting the data tell us what to do. So how do we do this? Yeah, what's the secret sauce? Well, the spoiler alert is that there isn't one secret because everyone's data is different, but you can get closer to the answer with what I'm going to take you through next. So pay attention to this. How often do you ask yourself and do you address the following questions? Who are the customers that are spending the most? Who are the most loyal customers coming back and placing another order? Who are the newest customers? And who are the customers I'm about to lose? And then who are the customers I've already lost? If you understand this and this type of thing, you can start doing something that we call RFM modeling. So what is that? Well, that's recency, frequency, and monetary. And why do we do this? Well, this gives us a starting point. It allows us to build some buckets of data that we can further segment on. So recency, the date of the last purchase made by a customer. Frequency, the number of orders each customer placed with you up until today. Monetary, the sum of the value of all the orders placed by a customer. So how can you build this RFM data model? Well, you can use things like Excel for those people, spreadsheet geeks out there. Perhaps you could use a lead scoring tool if you have one, or maybe a segmentation tool, even an automation tool. You don't actually have to physically send at the end of the automation. Perhaps you can use it to flow data into different buckets. But there are systems out there that will help you with this. The first step, though, is to have a look at your customer data and extract the historical data available. The second step is, now that you have the data for all of those RFM elements, you need to group each one and give it a score. Then you'll need to take the contacts in those groups and refine them into further buckets. So what can those potential buckets look like? I've put some examples on screen here. So I think top right, champions. These are people who have bought recently, buy often, and spend the most. Reward them. They can be early adopters for new products and promote your brand. We have can't lose there on the top left. They probably made the biggest purchases and often, but haven't returned for a long time. So put them in some sort of win back, do that via renewals or sending them information about newer products. Don't lose them to your competition. Make sure you contact them. Your competitors will be. At risk, lowest recency, frequency, and monetary value scores, perhaps. Revive interest, reach out with a campaign. Just don't ignore them. You're potentially leaving money on the table. Now, RFM modeling is a really effective tool to add to your arsenals if you use it correctly. It will take your segmentation to the next level. However, it can be a bit cold and one-dimensional. So make sure you're factoring in issues like not always targeting high-scoring customers, as you could annoy them. They'll be highly engaged and get you some great stats, but don't fall for that error. Neglecting lower-scoring customers is similar. They should be nurtured. As I say, you're leaving money on the table. But as I said, this could be a little bit cold. So how do we become less robotic, if you like? Well, you need to become more human, and just look at the way you would process information. If someone walked into your store, you would build up some sort of bias looking at that person that could help you to sell to them. That's kind of the first step of an RFM model. But it's only when you speak to them or look at how they move around the store that you're actually more able to work out who they are and what they want. Now, to make your RFM modeling work, you really need to layer more data on top, or to put it simply, you need to combine your buyer profile with your buyer insights and understand their personas. Now, buyer personas are profiles that represent your ideal customers. You create them with a combination of market research and real data about existing customers. This gives you a deeper awareness. At the end of the day, if you don't know who you're aiming at, how are you going to be able to position your product to be able to sell them to them down the line? So communicate with your customers to gauge who they are, what they want, what appeals to them most. Maybe run surveys and polls to collect more data. Look at your competitors and see how they're interacting with their customers. This will help you gain a better understanding of who you're speaking to and all of your channels. Give your persona a name. It's important to bring them to life and humanize your marketing efforts. Know things like job titles, the demographics, things like age and gender, perhaps their household income or location. Are they, for example, from an urban, suburban, or a rural region? What goals and challenges do they have? Do they have a main goal? Perhaps they have a secondary goal. Do they have values and fears? Main personal values, common objection, and understand their common objections during their sales process. Think about how you might describe your product and service to this person. Doing this helps you become a marketing rock star. RFM modeling helps you segment, whilst personas will help you personalize. Understanding your data is key to connecting to your audience. If you know them better, simply, they're going to spend more time hanging out with you. This will make your life easier, but more importantly, theirs too. What though if you don't have enough data or any data at all? Well, a persona is something you can still do. You can always make a framework for the ideal customer you want to target, and over time set a strategy to acquire the data that this persona needs. Now, there is an ethical question here. What data do we have at our disposal? First of all, it's not your data, it's theirs. So do right by it. I think things like GDPR has generated great awareness here. So we know we have to be more open, honest, and transparent. And this is great. I think this is how things should be. Now, I've covered a lot in a short space of time here, so let's quickly recap. There's a lot of data out there that we need to capture and model. It need not be scary. There's much that we can do with it, and this will make our lives and our customers' lives much better. We need to know how to harness it, build those buckets of data based on analysis, and then listen to what the data is saying to you. And don't be creepy with it. Respect what people give you, and they will appreciate it. Remember, don't assume, don't think creative first, do think data first. As a brand, you have an opportunity to use data to drive conversion rates, drive loyalty and lifetime values, and give a great customer experience. And you do this by linking all conversations and all data points from all channels. Now, this sounds like a big task, but you can break this into bite-sized chunks. And we have a simple mantra at dotdigital that I always like to leave these presentations with. So you can do this by thinking big. What's your plan? What data do you have? What data do you need? Or what data do you want? Start small. Start with the one thing you can do to build your data today, tomorrow, or this week. Then scale quickly. Set up, for example, a new automation each week using the data you have. And by the end of the year, you would have 52 automations in play across all of those channels. You will be the envy of all of your competitors. I thank you.
Hey, Tink, thanks again. Dropping knowledge as per usual. Great presentation. There had to be a technical difficulty. I would be the first one to do it, muted as per usual. Hey, thanks for attending our Rockstar lineup of general session speakers. Programming's taking a short break, so please take this time to visit the sponsor booths. Each one has something special to offer the Magento community, and you never know what special discounts and offers you'll find. Get to networking. We'll see you again shortly. Thanks.